Good day, my friends. Hello, how are you? I hope you're ready to put some finishing touches on our work. There are all kinds of ways that we can do that, and I'm going to touch on a few of them. I think I've compiled enough that'll get us going and make our work feel that much more professional, that much more consistent, and yeah, just polish, little polish, little icing. So here we go. Animation, a little bit of parallax. I have to always talk about parallax because it's so good. Colors, textures, patterns, sound design, and then the last thing is a unified look, and probably the most important. So let's jump into it, shall we? We have to have some 3D. We have to have some glow. Let's put some finishing touches on our work, shall we? All right. So I've talked at great length about animation. Certainly in our assignments, I'll be looking for at least 3 animation principles. Okay. First one, doesn't get as any easier than remembering that, right? Easy ease. It's a no-brainer, okay? Hit that F9 button and you won't make me cry at night. We can take it a little further and get a little bit more jazzy, little nicer, more purposeful motion. But really, that's a bare minimum there. I've talked, of course, at great length about anticipation and how important it can be. And then we have a little follow-through action, a little extra, little nugget for you. And really what I'm going for is consistency here, okay? I absolutely, if one element moves a certain way at the beginning of your piece, then a similar element should move in the similar way at the end of your piece, okay? So make sure it's consistent. And some of our principles of animation are, the one big one, I guess, is staging. And so making sure everything feels right and is clearly portrayed and consistent. Okay, you'll notice that there's this little doohickey here, and you're thinking, what the heck is that? All I know how to do is push keyframes around. Well, you don't actually have to. I was looking, there's this thing called expressions, and there's a bunch of them. I'll give you all of these elements as we go, but yeah, bounce expression, wiggle. I'll talk about at great length. Squash and stretch is interesting. Motion trail could be fun, but really bounce, okay? And this is what you do. You literally copy it off the internet because there are other people who are interested in creating that code, even if it's an AI bot. But we don't have to. We can just apply it. So I've got my text. It's ready to go. So say I want to go and put its position. That'll be its final resting pose. Okay, and then I'll just make it maybe go up. Whoop. Okay, so in order to get an expression, what I'm going to do is hover over my little stopwatch, and you'll see it says vary the ability of blah 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 to change over time, alt click or option click on a Mac, add or remove expressions. So I'm on a PC, I'll click my alt button, and as soon as you do that, you'll see that this is ready to go. It has its red letters or numbers, and our expression box is highlighted and open. I'll just paste that in there, and you can see that has come in. Now, if I go like this, that's going to come in, and it's going to bounce. And it'll bounce depending on, how close these things are, how fast it comes in. Okay, so the faster it comes in, the faster, the more it's going to bounce, which is pretty amazing. So this could work for something that's happy, like you can see the text. This is bouncy and happy and playful. And then if I think, I kind of like that, but it's maybe a little too much, I can go into my expression and change these values: amplitude, frequency, and decay. So amplitude is how much it's going to go, frequency for how long, and how fast it's going to decay. So, you know, maybe I just want this a little bit more subtle. I'll go to 2. There we go. Doesn't that feel good? Just a little bit less chaotic and crazy there. Okay, really, really easy, done, no problem whatsoever. If I wanted to go to that wiggle expression, let's just say I have a star that I want to play with, and my goodness, we definitely don't want it to be Adobe Red. So I'll just hit my positional keyframe, and instead of making any keyframes at all, I'm going to do the same thing, Alt and click, and then you'll see this little animator button that actually gives you all kinds of pre-made or sort of gets you going, so you can see loop out and so on. I'm actually just going to type in wiggle or wig, and you'll see it'll come up. I'll hit enter, and then we have our parentheses. So we need frequency and amplitude. So I'll say maybe I just want it subtle. It's going to move in 20 pixels randomly, comma, and how many, oh sorry, this is frequency, so how many times a second is it going to go? So let's say 3, and then I just want it subtle, so 20 pixels in any direction. And you can see that it's just going to randomly just have a little bit of motion, a little bit of movement. And the best thing about this is that I can ramp this up like crazy if I wanted to, and get something that's a little more chaotic. Okay, I could even start parenting my text to that layer to create even more motion. So yeah, wiggle, squash and stretch, motion trails, all kinds of ways that we can very easily create motion that is consistent throughout the piece. I'll be coming back to wiggle a little bit later, but yeah, I just want to make sure that we are being consistent with our motion and that it suits the personality, right? We don't want to have someone shouting, "Get up off your butt and move," and have the big wiggly, jumpy text. We need that to be, in there. And maybe it's, if the person's yelling, you do a quick little, wiggle with your motion. All right, so let's keep going, folks. My absolute favorite is textures and patterns. I know what you were thinking I wanted to say. Textures and patterns, okay? The way, the amount of difference that these can make to a piece of work that is, maybe 75% done, it really makes a massive, massive difference. Okay, I'll be sharing this Milanote with you, where you can see I've got quite a few resources: looks and effects, color, sound, patterns, generating textures, and also pre-made ones. So there's all kinds of tutorials out there where you can create all these looping backgrounds and so on. Certainly there are elements, presets in After Effects that are, fine, I guess. But making your own is really the best thing to do, and or getting ones that are created. I believe in this tutorial you can actually download the elements that he creates. But one of my favorites is actually this site here, Subtle Patterns, and it's actually quite simple, quite straightforward. As you can tell, it's subtle. So that one might be kind of fun. Just a little bit of something there, and boom. So you can see it just opens this up. I'm going to save image, and it's just a very, very small file, triangles pattern, and it's interesting. It's come in like that. Oops. Yeah. Usually it just comes in as a PNG, but that's okay. We can use the WebM. So let's go into After Effects and make some subtle patterns. I'm going to get rid of that because it's really not making me happy. I'm going to bring that in the background, and you'll see that this is very, very small, 72 by 72. So how does that help us? Well, we can repeat these elements, okay? So I'll go to my effects and presets and type in Repa, and I'll go and you'll see in stylize CC Reptile. So as soon as I do that, you'll just see that it just allows me to repeat all of these elements in every way. And you know, if I were interested in, if I had some other kind of different kind of thing here, maybe I could go in and play with a different style of repeat, but I don't want to do that. I just want this to be the way it is. Coco's snoring. That was him. I promise it was not me. Anyway, so, you know, I could have this now in the background. Certainly I want to go get, you know, my original solid, so perhaps it's red, and I'll put that in the background. And now on this one, instead of, you know, removing my color completely, I'll go Shift and plus, and I'll just play with the blend modes here and see what I get. Ooh, that one's interesting. Classic dodge. There we go, overlay, or maybe actually, yeah, let's go with overlay. And you can see that, you know, now there's just a little bit of texture, a little bit of I don't know what in there, and that makes me feel good. I like that. I could bring it to life, you know, I could literally just take this and you know, have it move ever so subtly, or just, you know, have it in the background and play with it that way. The other thing you can do is put it on elements that you have, right? So for instance, again, I could, oops, I've made a mask. I'll just go draw out a shape, and I will duplicate this one, and I'll put it so that it goes in there. Oh, and of course I've duplicated a pattern that has a effect on it, so that might be difficult. Let me see if I can scale it. Oh yeah, so it's way down there. Yeah, so effects don't really work that terribly well with that. I'll come back to putting our textures in elements, because yeah, for the patterns I really like it for the background. You know, there are also tons of these that we can create. So effect generate. We can do a 4-color gradient, which I'll get into in a second. There's a great new free plugin out there. But yeah, grids, radio waves, all kinds of like checkerboards and stuff. I actually found a really cool one from Ordinary Folk, and it's a script, and it's under, I think it's Ordinary Folk Grid Rig. Oh, and it doesn't like my, okay, it doesn't like that. I'll have to bring it back in and see what's going on there. Anyway, there are all kinds of ways we can create patterns, and the one I was talking about is Ordinary Folk with J.R. Canest, who does some absolutely fantastic work. And on their website, they have, and I'll put this in the comments as well. On their website, they have some free things that you can go and look at. So go to play, and yeah, there's the where is it? The grid rig, which is really neat. Path wiggler, wave warp, Bezier warp rig, grid rig. That's what I found. Yeah, play with. Really cool, cool stuff in there. Okay, so we can generate our own patterns and textures. Certainly texture mats. This one here is Ben Marriott, who does some amazing work, and turbulent noise, and you can get yeah, sort of this one here, stop motion-y, all kinds of ways for you to create textures and a little bit more grit and love in your work. And then actually pre-made textures. So I made this one the other day, or just in Photoshop here. And I was actually this is a new one, but yeah, this is just a bunch of paint, and it just animates itself on. This is the one I made. So just 1, 2, 3, 4 elements, and then I rendered out a movie file out of it. So let's go see. Oh, where did I put it? I gotta go find it, folks. Oh, this red is gonna kill me here. Resources, there we go. So I've got my brush texture loop. I'm gonna bring that in, and you'll see that it just animates basically one. It goes 4 times. Okay. But the cool thing about in After Effects, I can make this loop again and again. Because this is a movie, I'll just right click in here. I'll go to Interpret Footage, Main, and then I'll just loop it. 500, 5,000, doesn't matter how many times. Just pull that out, and now we have this kind of looping texture. And of course I can make it show up only within the star there. Maybe scale it up a little bit so it takes up the whole thing. And we don't want it to be too much in our face, so maybe we'll go to like a soft light there, or maybe a hard light. Let's see. Let's go and what I like to do whenever I'm using textures like this, where it just completely evaporates the original design, I'll go in that shape layer and I'll duplicate it, bring it back up on top, and then I'll either put it on below and put some texture on this. Let's see what's gonna work here. Let's go with soft light, and I don't know. Let's go with hard light. Yeah, there we go. That feels good. And then I can just take take that down a little bit, and then you just get a little bit of life there. Maybe I could take this back up, take it down. It's maybe a little too subtle. But adding these little textures in here just to give even elements like this some flavor, some life is an excellent idea. Back in our Milanote with our pre-made textures, you can see got a few examples here of just just random elements there. Lindsay Horner has a great site where she's got a whole bunch of elements, looping textures, rough enough paper packs. So yeah, you can go in here and see what she's got. So exactly, yeah, like the example that I have. So if I go in here and I take this plain paper and I download it, which I believe I have over there, paint paper brush already, but that's okay. I'll bring it back in here. And what I'll do is I'll just put this right over top, and obviously it completely removes anything in my system here, which is useless. So this is where we can go ahead and change it to screen so that only the light pixels show up. And look at that, we get a really nice overlay, maybe a little too much, so I'll just take my opacity there, and yeah, just get a little bit nicer. If I wanted it to be the darker pixels, I would do it on multiply, and you can see what a wonderful elements we get there. Oftentimes what people will do is they will have 2 versions of this. So they'll have one on multiply, maybe at like 70%. I'll Command Control D and duplicate it, and I'll put one on screen. There we go. And then this one, maybe I'll just like rotate it 180 degrees so that it's like it's not doing the exact same thing on top of itself. But now we're getting 2 layers of this element, 2 layers of this texture that will really bring our work to life. Maybe overlay would feel better on there. Yeah, so just look around. There are some amazing textures out there. Even if you're doing like a stop motion-y kind of feeling, wonderful textures there. Okay, or make your own like I did here. You can download the PSD and look at what amazing work can get done. Certainly, Ben Marriott does just amazing stuff with that, with textures. And the last thing I wanted to do as far as I'll keep going here because we need to keep moving. So textures and patterns, okay, absolutely makes a huge difference, and it's super easy to do. Once you're finished all your hard design and animation, just layer these up, okay? And then of course we want to talk about crap. So contrast, absolutely key here, okay? Repetition, alignment, proximity, almost as important. And so one of the ways we can get contrast, or at least think about it, actually I'll come back to parallax in a sec, is through color, all right? And the way we can make sure our color has enough contrast is by playing with the value, okay? And there's an interesting, this is from right here, I think it's the tutorial from School of Motion, and they've got a really interesting little workflow to test your value and your contrast. And what that is just getting a new layer, so adjustment layer, put it right up on top of everything, and then go to Effect, Color Correction, and Black and White, right here, boom. And as soon as you do that, all of your other elements will be reduced to their value, like to the contrast, and you can see right away what elements have enough and what elements need more. And then you can just, take that off and on as you go. Okay, so yeah, a really neat little trick to choose to just make sure you're getting enough contrast. Okay, another thing with color, use a contrast checker. Okay, I just usually Google color contrast checker. If you're not aware of WSAG by now, these are the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, and so your elements need to have a certain number, certain contrast number. Actually, Coolers, which is a good, they just like most color palette places, websites have obviously tons of palettes, but then if you go to tools, they actually have a contrast checker, which is great because really easily you can get your score, and it has to be for websites, generally speaking, 4.5 or higher. It depends on the actual size of your text. But it's just another good way for you to make sure that you have enough contrast in your work, like this, like the text here. Okay. And then, of course, using online sites for quick results on color theory, on color palettes. But certainly color theory is a massive beast out there. My go-to is actually color hex, color hex codes. And what I do, what I'll usually use this for is I've already got a hex code. For instance, let's go to my background here. I'll go layer and solid settings, and I'll check. And I'll go, okay, so I've got this. Copy, paste it into here, And now you can see I've got tints and shades at my disposal. I've got analogous, I've got complementary. So there you go. Look, I'll go grab this and I'll come back to my elements. And let's see, let's make one of these a little more in line with our work here. Where did my character go? Character. And I'll paste that in. But now you can see if I put that adjustment layer back on, I've got almost no contrast, right? So, you know, my better option here is actually, well, I could just paste this in now and go get a tint of that color. There we go. Go back here, paste, and now I have enough contrast. Don't forget when you're doing these, when you have text like this, and you have maybe some textures, you have gradients or just straight flat text, one thing you can very easily do, just like in Photoshop, is apply a layer style. Okay? And you may, you know, it'll just go on top of everything. You could put an outer glow, although, but yeah, just like a drop shadow. Boom. And so right away you can see, wow, it's kind of ugly. I'm not a big fan of you know, blurred drop shadows, so we can just go boom. We'll do that. The size matters for the blending of it. So I'll just take this down ever so slightly and then just a little more subtle. Okay. And you know, the more you do that, maybe actually go in here and get some red and then just make it a tint of red, or a shade of the red. And then now, like if I just turn this on and off, it's just ever so slightly popping up from that background. Okay. Now we could get into lights and 3D elements, but there's a nice quick fix for you. No problem at all for getting a little more contrast in our work. Okay. Value. We want to make that consistent as well. All right, so colors, textures, patterns, all kinds of great stuff out there. Actually, one of the things I was playing with is this is an effect. Where did I put it? On my BG layer? It's called Free Gradient. So let's go and open AE Scripts. Is it going to open? Yeah, AE Scripts, and then Free Gradient. There we go. And Free Gradient is free, as you may well know. Just pay what you want, which, you know, you're a student, so pay for free. They've got, you know, some ways of animating stuff and whatever, but what I actually like is the scattering, and you get this rich texture. So I just made this, I just went online and I got one of these palettes, and then I just made my gradient. You just sort of double click in here to make one. And I made that, and then over here in the scattering, here, let's get rid of that. This is how it looks off at the beginning, and look, you know, meh, whatever, kind of boring. But if I pull the scattering, then look at that. Oh, we get a built-in texture that just really brings this thing to life, and get some rich work in there. Just love it. Okay, so that'll be the last bit on color, and there are all kinds of other elements, not the least of which is Hue View Design. Hue View, he does some great, he's really funny. He's an amazing motion designer, and he talks about how to add these little layer styles and glows and stuff. Okay, another quick and dirty finishing touch as far as color and looks is this chromatic aberration by plug-in everything. And yeah, you get it basically just separates the RGB, really easily. Like, right, we can do it on our own in After Effects by going to Effect and Channel, and playing with the channels here. But that plug in everything, the chromatic aberration comes in and makes it really, really easy. I don't know if I actually have it on this computer. I'd have to come back and look at it. But another great and easy way to add some visual interest. Glow, massive, huge support. You'll find actually, if we go to these two here, the 3 steps to polish your work, glow comes up a lot, and I'll actually come back to glow just like I mentioned I would with wiggle. And then you get stuff like this, which is literally just an effect that you throw on top of things that brings everything to life, and you get some really rich results. Yeah, and that's literally just a preset, a bunch of effects. Ray Dynamic Color is really good too. It comes in as a plugin. And then this one's amazing, actually. I really want to come back to this. I made this as a result of the of it, but you can see that the idea is that it takes the color from this and reflects it onto other elements. And yeah, Ben Marriott again does this gorgeous work.
In this video, I'm going to teach you how to add some really realistic lighting and shading to 2D layers, all in After Effects.
Yeah, it's actually super. Oops, bad spot to pause that. It's super easy to apply, and it's just this. You can just get such rich, gorgeous colors out of that. And there's light leaks and other vintage styles and paper cutouts, all kinds of ways we can make our work look gorgeous. Not the least of which is Parallax. So basically a displacement or difference in the apparent position of an object viewed along 2 different lines, blah, blah, blah. Basically, if something's closer to you and it's moving along with other things, that thing that's closer to you is going to move more than the other thing that's further away. It's actually an instinctual way for us to see if there's a predator out there in the field. You'll see like marsupials doing this, looking to see how far away that thing is. But we can apply that to get just a little bit of extra professionalism, even if it is quite subtle. This here is the multiplane camera from Disney. I'll point you to that tutorial or the introduction later, but he basically invented this thing so that they could do little camera push-ins on their work. So when I'm talking about getting parallax, here, let's just bring all these elements up. What I'm going to do is, of course, go to my switches, and I'm going to make all of my layers 3D. I could say I'll go position for you, and I'll just, and I guess I got to do both so that it doesn't go away. So I can pull this forward towards myself, and then what I would do is scale it back down just so I can keep the original design. I'll bring this one out, position, maybe it's going to come, just a little bit further there. Maybe all of these are going to do the same thing. Bring them all out. Maybe we do this kind of thing where we're, having it go on different layers. That might be cool. I guess I could do it on the patterns on here on the background, but it's probably too subtle to see. So now what I can do, if I have any kind of, maybe I have a transition between 2 elements, so or 2 scenes, so I put one composition beside the other and I just animate one coming in and out. Well, the easiest way for me to do that is go layer, new. I'll just grab a null object, which we know is just an empty anchor point. And I'll take all of my layers and I will parent them to that null. And then if you look, if we look now, if I want this to go, and I'll make it 3D just because, if I want this to go left or right, you can see that my text that's in front, that's closest to my camera, is actually moving faster than the other elements. Okay, even this, well, let's go and I'll make this not 3D so that it's not as, oh, but I don't want to, okay, so I'll take that pattern and I'll take that away. So yeah, now if I go and have a little animation here, or even if it's going, maybe it's going right through. How about that? We'll go right through here. No, way too fast. Okay. So let's go and look at this now. So if I have this coming in, you'll see my text is coming in faster. My and the elements on that star that are in front of the other ones are moving a little faster as well. And just that little subtlety, people may not quite get the first time you watch, but I guarantee without it, it'll feel very flat and slightly boring. Okay. Another thing to do is to do a push in. So I could do, push in with that null, or better yet, let's go get a camera. Okay, and I'm not going to go too deep into this. We know we can have 1 or 2 node cameras. Enabling depth of field, again, really can bring your stuff to life. But yeah, with this camera now, I'll just hit P for position, and I'll just do a subtle push in, and you can see my text that's closer moves just that much more quickly. And yeah, we get, again, it doesn't need to be like big camera moves and all of this. We could literally take all of these, parent all of them to, say, the shape layer. And if I wanted to animate it out really quickly, they'll animate with Parallax, and you'll get that really nice professional look. Okay, trust in Mr. Disney. It's absolutely incredible what he was able to do many years ago, and what we can do with just a couple of button clicks. Okay, so let's move on to a sound. Sound is such a huge part of motion design, and I know for most of our projects we are not actually getting into it because maybe you have a song, maybe you have someone narrating and there's music in behind, and so you probably won't need it too much if you're doing a song. But if you're doing anything with narration and that's it, maybe you add a little bit of sound design to your work. One thing to keep in mind though is making sure to fade it in and fade it out. Just basically easy easer, like, fade that clip in so that you don't actually get this. Okay, this is really bad. It's gonna pop in people's ears. It's gonna sound amateur. Okay, so make sure to fade those in and out. Another thing we can do when we have narration is to make sure it's clean and crisp and beautiful and sounds wonderful. Okay, they're not being overwhelmed by sound effects and music. So one of the things we can actually do is take our stuff and clean it up. And Adobe has this amazing, it's actually amazing, this drag and drop thing. So let's listen.
I'm in a conference room with the window open, and it's pretty echoey in here too. Not the best place to record audio. Yet with enhanced speech, all of the background noise and echo is gone.
Yeah, it's really quite astonishingly powerful, this thing. But another one is Adobe Audition. So let's go, I'll just pop open Audition. Let's go to, we'll go layer, new, audio file. Okay, so I'll go, this is a test, this is only a test, this is nothing but a test. Go, this is a test, this is only a test, this is nothing but a test. Go. Okay, so I'll just delete that. But yeah, right away in here, over here on the effects rack, I can come and press on that default thing. There's all kinds of things I can do to my work, but one of them is actually podcast voice. This is a test, this is only a test, this is nothing but a test. This is a... Okay, so obviously we can get rid of that. But yeah, right away it adds these elements to really, really clean that thing up. And if I wanted to, you know, stylize it, this is a test, this is only a test, I can really do that. AM radio's fun. This is nothing but a test. This is a test, this is only a test. Okay, so we just want to make sure that that is clear. Right away though, what we could do is actually bring these up. We definitely don't want to clip these, so if it gets anywhere near 0 decibels, that's when it'll start to clip. Okay, and then going back to my PDF here, when we yeah, and I'll come to here first. Sound is additive. Okay, so each time you add in some kind of sound effect, music, narration, sound effect, you want to lower each of them, okay, because they will add up to blow out that audio, and it'll clip and it'll sound terrible. As far as sound design, there are some great ways in which we can very easily bring our elements more to life even more. This LinkedIn Learning tutorial is absolutely excellent. It goes through the pre-planning stage and then layering things up. But yeah, there's a few elements here. I've talked about sound cue and sound Lee. I will just use sound Lee at the moment because my sound cue I couldn't quite get into. But, and we want to bring that back so we can see it. But yeah, in sound Lee, again, this is just super easy for us to add sound effects. Just so let's go happy. I don't know what happy would be. Birds, crickets. At the sea, sure. Nope, I'm gonna go to Soundly Free, which goes to soundforge.com. Oh, I like that one. So yeah, I'm just gonna grab it and literally drag and drop it onto my timeline. And so when my text comes in, swoosh. Maybe the smash doesn't work. Maybe it should be a whoosh. Okay, so that's one. Maybe we have a little, let's go to relaxed maybe. Ooh. I like that. So yeah, with this one I'll just grab a bunch. I don't probably need that much, but I'll just drag it on here. And then I'm gonna hit LL to see my waveform. Oh, LL. Oh, weird, it's not letting me see the keyframes for it. That's weird. Audio levels. Oops, what happened to my... Oh. There we go. So I'm just gonna twirl this down and definitely bring this in and phase it up. You can see it when we do audio, you can go to a minus 192. I have no idea what the hell that is. It used to go to 48, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be more than enough for this. Maybe we just want it to have, you know, one kind of sound. That's it. Oops, what happened? Don't want it to go up. There we go. So see, now I'm layering them. I've got a higher one. I've got this low piece in the background. Sound design cliches. Let's see what we've got. be fun. Oh, bells. Okay, that's gross. You never know what you'll get. Hey, there's a transition sound, swooshes. You can see how much it's clipping there. It's quite... So there we've got something even lower. So there you go. I like that. I'll just bring that one in. And now we have a rich texture. But you can hear that, right? You can hear that's really getting too loud. So definitely we want to come in here and just bring that down so that it's just in the background. Just a little hint. Okay. So adding, layering these sounds for a richer experience, low sounds, high sounds. In that tutorial I mentioned, he actually goes in, going from channel to channel. So if you have a movement that is going left to right, you can actually, play with it and match it with the sound as well. So really, really amazing work there on sound design. Okay, people go to school for sound design, so we're just dipping our toes in it, but really we want to make sure everything's clear, consistent, and yeah, maybe you're adding a little bit of sound effects to some of your animated elements. Okay, you'll see right away it brings everything to life. All right, lastly but absolutely not leastly is creating a unified look. Okay, and this is from don't like that, do you? Okay. What's his name again? I'll have to oh boy. Quick composite for a finished look, and it's right up here. This is Owen Lowry, that's his name. And he talks about, and my internet doesn't want to work, he talks about this quick composite for a unified look. So I'll just turn that off for now. So if I have this in here, which, maybe I want to do something a little more full. I don't know. Let's see if we can play with a little more blend mode. Yeah, that's good. So this idea of the bringing everything together, it's a two-step process. First of all, we want a solid layer in the background at the bottom of your comp. Okay, I actually have my After Effects set up so that it automatically creates a new composition with a background layer. Okay, so I'll just call this BG. Get some whatever color I want in my BG, and I'll bring that in. Okay, so that is critical, and the reason is because when we get into adding elements on top of each other and playing with blend modes, the composition settings, this color does not exist when you're talking about effects and blend modes. It does not exist. Okay, so you can actually see it if you go here, click. That's the transparency grid. So if I turn off the background there, you can see this is, and I have a whole bunch of effects on, that is see-through. Okay, so get yourself a background layer always, no matter what. All right, unless you're, well, this is in the final comp, right? If you're bringing in elements that you need transparency for, obviously put it in the final comp. So that's step number one. Step number two, if we go back to my little thing here, step number two is adding an adjustment layer at the top. Okay, so what we do is layer new adjustment. Okay, and depending on where you were, it's going to put it there, but I'm going to call it finishing touches. And so this is an adjustment layer. It's an invisible layer where we can put effects and it'll affect every single thing underneath it. So what do we want to do? Let's go look. We want to add some blur and some noise. And I do suggest a photo filter. And then everything else is maybe depending on the project. But really, absolutely blur and noise. So when I say blur and noise, I do not mean to go and get, let's go with a Gaussian blur. I do not mean to do this, okay? I don't actually want you to blur the crap out of your stuff. I don't want to see the blur. So we're going to take that down to like 2 or 3 pixels. It depends on the content and what you have. But yeah, just a little bit of blur, maybe not even that much, maybe even 1.5. And what that does is around the edges of these separate layers, it will blur those pixels, and so those pixels will actually blend, you know, layer to layer to layer, okay? And it'll act more like real life, so in a small way. So for example, I've got this little foamy thing that's green. If I were to put that up to my face and I took a picture and I zoomed in, well, the green would reflect onto my face. So by doing just a teeny little blur, you're actually getting these colors from each of these layers to blend into each other a little bit more. Okay, so that's one. The second is noise. So go to noise and straight up noise, okay? Lots of people use all kinds of these. It depends on the style you want to go for. But noise, just obviously this is useless, right? So we just want the tiniest little bit, maybe not even that much, maybe 3 or 4 pixels. And again, what you get is just a bit of texture, just like in real life. And actually, because this is noise and it actually it will continue to move. Okay, I've got all these paper textures and whatnots in there. It will move, and it will move on everything. This and this and this all have that same texture, that same noise. And what it does is it makes it more realistic. Okay, if I were to videotape or film myself or anything in the world, there is atmosphere between the lens and the subject, and that atmosphere comes into live action footage as noise. Okay, so we can replicate that effect with just the tiniest little bit of noise. Okay, so that's it. Okay, you can go home now, you're done. But I do suggest to add a little bit of these. Okay, photo filter is again my go-to. Well, let's go and look at them all. So there's all kinds. You could literally go and put photo filter, which is just cool or light, but I'm a huge fan of Lumetri color. Okay, so I'm going to come in here. You can see the basics. And I'm not going to get into LUTs right now. You can go and change these elements for live action footage, which is what I usually do. But for motion design, I'll go right over to creative. And then there's looks, so you can go, whoops, so I can go in here and it's clicked on that one. You can go and look at, getting looks from specific cameras, get all kinds of crazy stuff here. Go on a blue, you could go to a clean Fuji look. And if I turn this on and off, it's just a little more bright, a little more, intense. I could, if it's too much, I can take that down. Maybe I want a little bit of a faded film look. Maybe I want to, increase the sharpness there, maybe just a bit. If I don't want to take it minus, because that just kind of acts like a blur. Maybe a little more crisp. I am a big fan of upping the vibrance and lowering the saturation. It works really well with live action footage, especially skin tones. I don't know how or why it boosts those levels up really nicely. So that's usually what I'll go for. And then, right in here we have vignette. So this is where I would what I usually do is I'll crank it up to its highest thing. We can also go to a bright one if that's your bag. Let's see. I'll take the round. I'll take the feather off for now. I'll take the roundness down. I'll move this there. Yeah. So now I've got it set to where I want, and you can see I've got it there. Okay, well, maybe a little more roundness. So you can see right now this is way too much, right? Way too much. So I'll just take this back down just so that there's a little bit there. Now, it's almost impossible to see that, right? And if I turn it off, you can go, oh, yeah, look at that. It is there. And even maybe that's too much. Maybe just like a 0.5. But now when I take it off and I put it back on, just a little subtle darkness to the edges. And what that does, they call it a power window because it pushes your eyeballs and your view to that middle spot there. Okay, so lumetri color, absolutely amazing. Movement, wigglorama, I don't know about, but yeah, what Owen Lowry goes through is just adding a little bit of movement to everything. So in this case, it's effect. What did he do? Wigglorama. Maybe that'll be in distort. Where's my D? Distort. There you go. And is it in Wigglorama? Wiggle. I don't know where it is, so I would go to here. Wiggle. Wigglorama. So it's under presets. There we go. So I could click that on. And now it's going to come in just absolutely nuts, just way over the top. But basically it just brings in these transform properties and puts motion on everything. So I actually don't want to do that. I'm just going to go and get right on my finishing touches, distort and transform. Okay. And then here in the position, I'll do that same thing that I did before. So I'll make a keyframe just so it's easy for me to see. I'll go to wiggle, and I'll say frequency and decay. So maybe 3 times a second, and it's going to move 5 frames. Okay. And take that down to half resolution. And now you can see everything in here has just a tiny bit of motion together. Even if elements are moving in and out, shooting around, it'll add that realistic kind of camera, like handheld camera move. You can see I'm moving it just slightly. So what we would want to do, and so that we don't get this, the lines there, is just scale it up ever so slightly, maybe even 1 pixel. Okay, and that again, it'll depend on the project, but it brings things to life that much more. Okay, and then glow is huge. Glow is awesome. We can literally go with that layer, effect, stylize, and glow, and right off the top it'll look absolutely terrible. So we definitely want to bring that down and play with the parameters here. There are some third-party glows out there that work really well. You may even not want to put it on this this full, like the finishing touches adjustment layer. Might want to X that out and maybe I'll just have it on my text. And so for this, I'll go, color. I'll do color channels, composite original on top, and then just blast that out. Interesting that it's, I thought so. It was on dissolve. That's why it's looking so funny. So yeah, there you go. See the glow there? Just that little bit of extra, little tangible nugget there that feels quite nice. and you can change the colors and have it glow however you want. But by doing that, yeah, you just get a little extra visual interest in your work. Okay? And the best part about these are that you can save them. Okay, you can save these presets and have them ready for you. So I'll go back to my finishing touches. I'll just select all, and what I'm going to do is select all of these. Okay, and now if I go over to my effects and presets window and the little hamburger window, I can save animation preset, and it'll save it to your system, so it'll find exactly where it's going to be, and then it'll paste, and it'll actually come in right under your presets. So I've already done one, so I have my finishing touches ready to go anytime I want them. Okay, so another little nugget of awesomeness to make our work feel unified and complete. Okay, my friends, so there you go. That is it. Oh, I've got my keyboard up there. I didn't realize I had that there still. That is some finishing touches for you, and yeah, I will put the Millinote resources in the description below. And so yeah, happy animating, happy designing, and happy finishing, my friends. And we'll see you in class. Cheers.